Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Captain Sanjit, and through this video I would like to tell you about how performance matters while you are in your flying training in your flying school. So one thing you should understand first and foremost is the flying schools out there are doing a business. They are out there to make money. This is obvious, right? They are out there to extract money out of you. So every mistake that you make is profit for them. So if you do not perform well, you'll end up flying more. I'll tell you how in the next few minutes. So I just want to say that perform well so that you do not end up overspending. Okay, you all of us have a budget while we go into flying training, but 80% of us, what happens is, because of we might get cheated, or we might underperform slightly, or I would not say underperform, but we might not hit the standards, which will end up us crossing our budgets, which we set for flying training. So let it be a helicopter pilot or an airplane pilot. On an average, you have to spend close to 50 to 60 lakhs to become a pilot, and every mistake, every hour will cost you money. Every hour of flying or every lesson of flying that you have to take extra will cost you. So this video is more of not tips, but what you shouldn't do so that you end up overspending. So number one is, what happens is, in many cases, if you initially you are just having fun, you are fooling around during your flying training, and what happens is, if you do not pay enough attention, if you underperform, if you do not give it your 100%, you get cleared for your solo a bit later. So when you get cleared for your solo a bit late, you end up overflying. You end up overflying and you end up flying more with your instructor rather than solo. Solo is basically when you are the sole occupant of the aircraft, or you're flying alone in the aircraft. And in your 200 hours, there are certain mandatory requirements of your solo. Okay, so you need so many hours of solo. So what happens is, if you fly dual or with your instructor more, you'll also have to fly solo more so that you reach those requirements. So if your solo check is released later because of your underperformance, then what happens is, you end up flying more and you end up paying more. So the first advice to you is, give your 100% from day one onwards. Okay, I'm not saying don't have fun, but give your 100% day one onwards. Otherwise, you will end up overspending. If you have a lot of money, that's okay. I mean, you can afford to do it. But for all of you guys who are on a tight, stringent budget or education loans, I would ask you to give your 100% from day one. Enjoyment can happen later as well, like our parents have been telling us all our lives. But at the same time, you have fun, enjoy flying, but give it your 100% every time. Okay, pay attention to whatever your instructor is telling you, so that you don't end up flying more dual hours than required. Okay, that is one. Number two is, what I want to talk about is about skill tests. So many people, when I was in flying schools, luckily I could clear all my skill tests in one go. So one skill test during my time used to cost around $600. $600 is close to 48,000 rupees. 48,000 rupees is the examiner's charge in itself. Okay. Other than that, also the charges for the aircraft is separate. So for example, in my case, it used to be close to $1,000. Now what I've heard is close to $1,400 for a whole skill test. Okay, which is close to 45 minutes of flying. So close to $1,400 is what you can think of total, transportation and everything included. It can range between $1,200 to $1,400, but yeah, you are spending in that range. Let's say even if you are spending $1,000, it's straight away 80,000 rupees. Okay, so many people end up failing their skill test. Okay, so and once you fail your skill test, you have to do it again, and you can't just go and do it again. your flying school will ask you to, let's say, fly 4 or 5 hours before, and practice those maneuvers and practice those whatever areas you underperformed in, and then come back. So if you actually calculate, you end up spending close to 3 to 4 lakhs, okay, if you fail your skill test. So study well, do well in your skill test, try to clear it in one go. I'm not pressurizing you, but if you do not pass your skill test, this is what you're about to lose. Generally, even average students are good to clear the skill tests in one go, but what happens is, in fooling around, in maybe traveling around and seeing new places and all these things, we end up wasting time while we are on flying training, and we end up not studying for the skill test the way we should, and of course we fail the skill test, and then we have to do it again. We end up spending so much money. And this dollars, what I'm talking about is when it comes to US. In India, again, the figures are more or less, let's say it will at least cost you again 50 to 60,000 bucks, depends on the flying school. Okay, so that's the second point. Now the third point is when it comes to your exams, pilot exams, your DGC exams. Okay, so I suggest before you start your flying training, you give your DGC exams, because what happens is, during the time of submission of all the papers, you have, let's say you have done your medicals, you have cleared your exams, and you have flown your necessary hours, and you are ready to submit all your papers to DGCA, so that you can get your license, of course. Now what happens if you just straight away go for flying, and if you haven't cleared your exams on time? What happens is, from within the last 6 months of your paper submission to DGCA, of your application submission to DGCA, there are certain number of hours that you should have. So what happens is, once like many people are under this stress and pressure that they finish their flying training first, and then they have come to give their conversion exams, and if they're not able to clear within these 6 months, in which there should be certain mandatory hours that are required, then they end up again flying more. They end up again doing those checks, those 10 hours and etc, and spending more money. So clear your DGC exams first, and then go for flying, so that everything is in the right order and it falls in place. Okay, so once what happens is, if you do it in this order, you can straight away come and submit your papers for your license immediately. So these were the 3 tips that I wanted to give, and it's also mistakes that people make, which and people end up spending more money. I hope that doesn't happen to you, and if you have any doubts for me, and if I know the answer, I'll answer it for you in the comments, or you can also contact me on Instagram, of course. So happy landings, guys. Cheers. Bye bye.